Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and I'm giving this video presentation of Mercury, of the planet Mercury, a crucial principle in our lives. And so I offer worldwide astrology readings and teach worldwide astrology courses. And I'm speaking to you from near the Healing Centre in the far west of Ireland, which I run with my partner, healer Maggie Pashley. Okay, what is the Mercury principle at the highest level? Well, Mercury is the messenger of the gods, and that's sort of got derided in comics, for example. But think about it, the messenger of the gods. So at his highest level, Mercury communicates the divine to us. And how does Mercury do that? Well, he does it through creating concepts, through creating conceptual awareness. And through those concepts, which can be bad or good concepts, but through those concepts, he potentially connects our mind to the gods, to the universal, to the meaning beyond this realm of form, this realm of Mahamaya, as it's called in Vedic astrology. So that is Mercury's chief function, and we'll be looking at that. And there's a very full blog post associated with this video, and that goes into a lot of detail. And the address is just below in the YouTube notes, so do look at the blog post for the fuller detail. So we've agreed that Mercury is the messenger of the gods, but at his next highest level, Mercury connects us to the deepest qualities of our mind. Mercury enables us to figure out the key things in our life purpose here, our big life scripts, which are often totally outside the culture we live in or the educational processes or our degrees or so forth. Those questions which Mercury helps us figure out are much more important than those. And because Mercury is the messenger of the gods, he gives form to what is hidden, unconscious or inchoate in our life. Over the years, he can give form to this. He can bring to light that which is held in darkness. And so, Mercury can then develop, if we handle him right, to prioritize so that we can take charge. What are our top priority mental insights about our life purpose, about the way we should live? When we really think things through, what do we arrive at? What should we implement and live by? And often, these things are so difficult to express. So they can be expressed through art, through poetry, through scientific symbols, depending on the type of mind we have. And so the dimension of Mercury's purity and efficiency comes in, because we need to develop purity and efficiency around our mental processes, refining them in the way that's right for us, for our mind, for our emotions, for our destiny. All this is Mercury's domain. And so, let's just think for a brief moment, Mercury, messenger of the gods. So, when Mercury is the messenger for Jupiter, he expresses highest philosophy. And it can take a beautiful form. But what happens when Mercury is channeling for Neptune? It can be quite difficult to express Neptunian intuition in terms of clarity and Mercury principles. but we need to be able to ride the two horses. Mercury can take on the stern exactitude of Saturn, Lord of Karma. Mercury has to be able to cope with the zany, revolutionary eclat of Uranus. No wonder Mercury is so chameleon-like, so quicksilver-like. And in Vedic myth, and indeed the myth of other ancient peoples, not just Indo-European peoples, but other peoples as well, Mercury is so often said to have the moon as his father. In other words, Mercury is the articulation of our unconscious mind and our mind and consciousness arising therefrom. This is the important principle that above all Mercury does. He doesn't initiate thinking and ideas, he organizes and analyzes them. And a very big thing in the ancient myths and sagas is the principle of naming. In the ancient Indo-European peoples, if you could name something, you controlled it. It's a principle of hermetic magic. And so Mercury is all about correct naming. I remember when I was a boy of 5 being so moved by the litany of the holy names. And in 1998, I did a study of social anthropology, a field study of spiritual forms new to the modern West. And I studied at a Hindu ashram, Scandavale. And they had the most wonderful litany, their adaptation, Om blessed be God, Om blessed be his many holy names. And yes, we shouldn't be sort of partisan. You know, I just belong to this sect and everyone else is wrong. Om blessed be his many holy names. We shouldn't limit ourselves by our concept of the divine. And indeed, if Mercury is conjunct Ketu in your birth chart, you're much more likely to have your own name changed. So Mercury learns to discriminate between divine nuances and issues in naming. And thus Mercury learns to discriminate, hopefully, between shafts of illumination from inner consciousness and the falseness and slogans of the business world, the material world, the university setting, whatever people have locked themselves into. Mercury helps you go beyond that. Mercury helps you go beyond the slogans imposed on you most deeply by your family. And that's such a necessary thing to do if your family is very limited or dysfunctional and torturing. Mercury can help you think it through and see it and articulate it and give it clarity. And so, as Mercury creates our enlightened mind, he becomes, or he develops our buddhi. And so an enlightened one is called a Buddha. So at his highest, Mercury is the most precise and perfect functioning of the mind, discriminating the eternal from the transient, truth from illusion. At this level, Mercury is the mind of Vishnu, the cosmic intelligence. Now, astronomically, we need to remember that Mercury races round the sun. He only takes, I think, something like 88 days to go round the sun, and he has frequent retrograde periods. And when he's turning retrograde or going retrograde, his velocity is very slow. So if you're born at a time of Mercury retrograde or Mercury stationary, the Mercury principle will be very strong in your life. And strong doesn't mean good. Strong doesn't mean easy. Strong means strongly challenging. And also, Mercury is emphasized if he is in a Mercury rule sign at the time you're born, or one of the Mercury-ruled lunar signs, the wonderful and powerful 27 nakshatras. And read about those in the blog post. Okay, I need to mention to you the levels to which the ancient mythologies understood Mercury. So basically the Romans, had a derisory concept of Mercury, this sort of winged sandals youth with his caduceus. The Romans were interested in creating empire. They sort of hijacked what little sense of Mercury they had from the Greeks. And the Greeks had quite a huge sense of Mercury. And so Mercury was born as the child of Zeus and a nymph called Maia. And he was a very precocious child. And as soon as he emerged from the cave where Maia gave birth to him, he saw a tortoise and he took its shell and he fashioned it to be a lyre, a musical instrument. And then he went on to steal the cattle of the sun. And so, in fact, the gods were quite impressed by, God, this precocious child. And so Hermes, as the Greeks called him, was given the caduceus, the healing rod. This is so important. Mercury can heal if you use him right. If your Mercury is divorced from connection to your heart and from truth, you go in for psychobabble. You ask question after question and you get nowhere and you ruin your life. But Mercury can bring, for example, through astrology, through Vedic astrology and Western psychodynamic and Western evolutionary astrology, such healing concepts to enable you to prioritize and heal your life. And so Mercury is about healing, and indeed he rules the sign of Virgo, which is very much a healing energy. Now, for the ancient Irish, who were also an Indo-European people like the Greeks and like the Aryans who created the Vedas, and like the Romans, the Irish had quite a glorious Mercury god called Ogma, and he was a warrior as well as a writer. He fought to defend the homeland of the Tuatha Dé Danann, and he invented the Ogham, the Celtic tree alphabet, where each letter is actually a gateway to the other worlds. Each gateway is a key to mystical and visionary transformation. The Egyptians had Thoth as their Mercury, and he was also the god of magic, and like Hermes, he was the psychopomp. He took souls to the underworld, and he brought the principles and insights of the underworld to this world. Vast, huge, important. In Babylonian theology, Marduk, not so sure about Marduk, he slew Tiamat, who the mother goddess called the female serpent. And he had a scribe called Nebo. Mercury was called Nebo, and Nebo was responsible for writing down the edicts of Marduk. So I think they had a fairly low reception of the Mercury principle as that particular cuneiform, piece of writing has come down to us. Now, very importantly, but briefly, for the ancient Norse, Mercury was the great warrior magician god Odin. Odin hung upside down in the world tree for 9 days, trancing in delirium and perceiving in the branches and twigs of the world tree the letters of the runes, and each key is a huge key to our understanding of our particular life and the transformation. Starts off with Theo, the rune of value, moves on to Uruz. Do you value yourself enough for your life journey? Are you strong enough for your life journey? And so through myth, we begin to pick up the picture of Mercury. So I can't tell you all about the astrological Mercury in this brief video, but have a look at the blog. Ask me for an astrology reading, enroll on one of my astrology courses, or maybe even learn about the Ogham or the runes. I teach courses in both of those. Thank you.